Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Strat Chat. Welcome to another patch review. It is patch 13.2, Wednesday, June 14th. It is out, so let's take a look. We're here with some mid-season follow-up. Let's get into patch 13.2. And of course, mid-season, this is the first time that they've gone through a major change in the preseason. They're really trying to keep things fresh and get a lot of teams that are proving that they're very versatile. So they're just amping up. You can argue that spring was just never fully balanced. We're not going to be balanced yet either. So it's going to be a lot about which teams are able to find the undulations, what's good, what's strongest. Of course, the big changes was like Ginsu Rangeblade and On Hit, which necessarily means that attacking is going to be stronger, which means assassins are going to be stronger because people have to spend more time ramping up their Rageblade and being in threat range. So with that in perspective, we have quite a few changes this patch, but two main goals: following up on mid-season tuning and tackling a few champions that have been problematic in pro play, like Lulu, Yumi, Kha'Zix, and Zeri. In other news, this patch contains our new mythic skin line, Crystallis Motus. That will be sick. A new mythic shop rotation, new Shanghai scroll skins, and a bunch of ARAM adjustments. This is also the second to last patch of Split 1, so make sure you're getting those games in before your ranked is locked in and pulled for rewards on July 17th. So this is going to be like a hard reset. For more information on the ranked reset and all that's coming in Split 2, check out our What's Next for Ranked post here. So anybody who wants to check it out, here we go. TFT as well. So here's the highlights. Okay, we've got the big hitters. Gragas was one of the biggest ones, and you're going to see like some of these champions are just completely overpowered. Zeri's kit overtuned. Kog'Maw, yes, strong, but was the highest win rate champion before, but largely because it was mostly one tricks playing it. It was fairly niche, but now it's just like ubiquitous, just incredibly strong everywhere. Cassante still overperforming at the highest tiers because they can dominate at every stage in the game. And Gragas was the biggest, the most overpowered champion. Glad that they're hitting Yumi. I want Yumi to get hit again, just make it a noob friendly champion. Ashe was incredibly strong, but for some reason still people are not getting Q at level 1, so they have not picked up on it, probably because pro teams haven't picked it. If you're going to like give up the meta bot laners in a draft, you can easily get Ashe right now in pro play and just crush your lane. Level 1, literally insane damage, lethal tempo plus Q, it just rips through anybody. Super high damage. It's good to see that. So let's get into the actual numbers behind everything. Ashe. Passive bonus damage increased. W damage increased. R damage increased. Ashe has been chilling at a pretty weak spot after the mid-season update because people aren't doing it right when compared to other marksmen and supports. So let's look at all the changes. The bonus damage from Frost Shot is going up 5%. The volley is going up 10 flat. And the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is getting 20% AP. This doesn't really matter, although if you are going the Ginsu's Rageblade build, which is viable, it's going to give you a nice little hit right here. Just a tiny little nudge in the direction. But really, this isn't really a buff. They're trying to show that, at what point, they're trying to find out what's the breaking point where Nashor's Tooth Ginsu's Rageblade is too good. Because it's going to take people a long time to get onto it. The build-up is awful. It's so bad. Nashor's Tooth is better to build than it's ever been, but if you're a bot laner, like the reduction in damage the moment you buy an AP item is so drastic that this is why there's always issues with this, right? And they keep on throwing AP scaling. There might be a world someday soon where buying Nashor's Tooth is going to be worth it. We'll talk about that later with Kaisa. And yeah, that's, they just keep on throwing these numbers in. It's bound to trigger at some point. It's also a nod towards the support items that give temporary amounts of ability power. Gangplank isn't the jolly pirate he once was, struggling to find success in the current game when he can't access ability haste as easily. We're walking back the recharge timer nerf on his barrels with the goal of making him a little more powerful and enjoyable to play, aka broken in pro play. Gragas, passive cooldown increased, Q mana cost decreased. Decreased? Okay, so they're buffing him. No, obviously this is the big one. This is what makes his laning phase oppressive, that he's just constantly gaining his health back. And even while building AP, he's still just naturally tanky. So this will take a big effect. The big iteration here is that 12 seconds is now going to start overlapping with the shorter cooldown windows, right? So if you have a more spammable spell, you're more likely to get a second and third iteration off between the passive procs, and especially before he gets the next one off. So as far as like a delayed fight, something that is, we'll say 23 seconds long, the upper limit, in 23 seconds fights, all of the champions that get an extra cooldown off within 23 seconds are going to have a better matchup against Gragas. So that's kind of what to track here. He's still going to be very strong. The fact that they're decreasing the mana cost on the ability that often he needs to spam the most in a lot of different matchups, this could end up just being okay, right? And in the matchups where you're not getting an extra cooldown off during this duration, it's a wash, right? He's actually just going to get better. So still going to keep track of Gragas. He's still going to be strong. Cassante, E cooldown increased, finally. There were cases where endgame you were just flying through with multiple E's in fights, so hopefully those will take that away. 1.5 seconds to everything. Kaisa, AD growth increased, okay? She had the lowest growth scaling of any champion in the bot lane, of any marksman, I should say. It is worth building Nashor's Tooth on this champion if you're going for one of those hybrid builds. Again, very slow build up. Your team needs to be willing to just accept that you're just going to park in mid lane and wave clear and farm for a bit. There are build-ups that are nice, like Serrated Dirk to start, to get you the Q evolve, but you can do something like Serrated Dirk into Manamune, into Nashor's Tooth, and then go back and finish something like Collector, and then go build from there. And then you have 4th item Mythic, and there's a lot of different options to go. You can go Ginsu's Rageblade from that build, and then you become an absolute powerhouse, best in slot from that point on. The question is whether or not you can carry that mid game. And in pro play, right, any kind of elite play where the tempo of the game is fairly high, probably don't want to go that route. But in low ELO, absolutely highly recommend this. Kha'Zix's base AD decreased. This is what they do to champions when they just want to peg it down. They don't know what to change about it. They don't want to change identity. They just need to say, hey, deal 10,000 damage less per game. Here you go. So that will bring Kha'Zix out of the limelight. W base damage decreased. I wish they took away something else. It looks like they've been trying to support mid lane Kog'Maw for a while with many buffs, many to the mana costs and the cooldowns and the damage to his E in particular. I wish they just walked back one of those, because it's still viable to just go WQ, right? You skip E entirely. The mana cost is low enough that it's fine to go down, but again, like the spikes from the extra attack speed are really nice. This will be a pretty big hit, all right? So an extra 0.5% early. The AP is not changing, and it's really 0.5% at all levels. So they're just trying to take like, hey, let's not take you too far down. It's just going to be when you're hot, you're not going to be as hot, but this champion's still going to be quite strong. Still pick it. Lucian, passive damage decreased, activation conditions adjusted. So let's take a quick read on this. The AD scaling, so vigilance damage down by 4 and 5% of your AD. That's a pretty big knock. This is probably going to push Lucian out completely, just that by itself. Activation conditions, let's see if these come back. When Lucian is empowered by another ally, his next 2 basic attacks will deal bonus damage. That's changing to when Lucian is healed or shielded by an ally, or when nearby enemy champion is immobilized. Okay, so that's what they're doing. They're saying when he's empowered, right, or if someone's immobilized, his next 2 damages. So that's why they had to take something away. They wanted to give something back. I'm surprised they did this, but basically, I hate this because the enchanters, he was supposed to be strong with enchanters. Traditionally, right, for 10 years, he was better with Nautilus types. But Nautilus, if you wanted to synergize with Lucian, you wanted to go Font of Life, okay? And you go Font of Life because then when you go in, you've crowd controlled your target. The Lucian will get healed by his auto attacks, so then he gets empowered auto attacks, and this will go on. I don't like that they're taking away the skill of knowing that you need Font of Life to empower Lucian. Instead, anyone's going to get it. It's meh. The fact that they're opening up other pairings with champions like Leona and Amumu and Nautilus in particular, and Rel as well, who's going to be seen later. This is going to be a lot of extra usage cases, and the fact that you don't need to have Nami with him anymore, or the Sona Melio types, This is going to be good for him. He's actually going to have more success, especially in solo queue. In pro play, his dominance is going to go down because the number is just lower, right? And that's what they're penalizing, and they know. So this is a nerf in pro, but a buff in low elo. Lulu, base armor decreased. This is, again, one of those things that they want to do when they just want to pronounce a weakness. Early laning phase, you'll be able to punish this. Magic damage is going down significantly, 6 damage. This is a lot, right? Especially when you talk about all the extra instances that you can get from help picks. The shield value also taking a hit. Shield value getting buffed. By 5 per level. All right, 0 at level 1. This is the spell that you're often maxing, so this will be a nice little touch. So they're taking away a little bit of the laning phase power, giving it back at level 7 and 9, where you can get some of that damage back. But the hit's going to be here. Melio, OP. Melio is a really cool fire enchanter, and specifically designed to be a defensive one with team-wide cleanse and tools to keep his whole team cozy and warm. But what isn't cozy or warm is Melio's ability to help output tons of damage and provide his team with such strong defensive tools. Attack range is the best stat in the game, and he gives attack range, so he's always going to be broken. The thing that gates him is that he's got exceptionally long cooldowns. He's the #1 support in pro play so far, and definitely one of the strongest champions in League of Legends. So strong that they had to remove him from MSI. They were planning on having him at MSI, and they're just like, we can't figure this out. He's winning way too much, especially with the aforementioned Lucian. So these were much needed nerfs. Armor growth is going down, although still quite high. Base armor is at 26, and empowered attack damage going from 1535 to just 15%. All right, so you're not getting the scaling at the end game. Still going to be okay in lane, but they definitely pegged him down. Probably still the strongest support. He's just that incredible. If you're playing against him and you haven't seen many games with him, largely solo queue is going to reflect what you see in pro. There's some builds where they're just skipping the queue. Some builds where they're actually playing queue for harass. There's a lot of flexibility in the build path. So keep watching those games. We'll do a coverage on this channel. So make sure to stay tuned and stay subscribed so you can catch those games. Nasus, passive lifesteal increased. Our cooldown now decreases with rank. This is a big deal to be able to have the ult multiple times. This is something you could do to play around Nasus late game without his ultimate. He's not really a good champion. Now that he's going to have it up a little bit more often, especially if he goes split push. Lifesteal going up is a big deal because this is going to help every single lane phase, and in his late game cases where he's just healing back up to full. This is a big deal. Nasus will be a tank eater in the top lane, so keep an eye on this. Probably still just counterpick, like severe counterpick to something like Maokai up in the top lane. Cassante will still have enough tools to beat him up, and we're going to see Volibear start coming back up the ranks too, also going to have an impressive lane phase, especially around level 5 to 9. Orianna, our damage increase. They keep on giving her the love because she needs it. She's hard to play, so it's hard for people to pick up. And like, why would you play the hard champion in pro compared to everything else? 100 more damage on the ultimate and 5% more AP. So this is nearing one-shot range for a lot of different champions. So keep an eye on this, especially if you're going for a Luden's Echo build. If you go Sork and Ludens, plus your Void Staff Rabadons, boom, you're done. Done and dusted, and that should be enough to one-shot most AD carries. Rel. All right, here we go. We need the length of a Bible for this. Get your dissertation ready. After the hotfix in 1311, Rel is looking very strong in both support and jungle. We saw the videos here if you guys want to check it out. Her Q is still feeling a bit on the slow side, which isn't meeting our goals of smoothing out her kit's rough edges. This is what they mean by getting rid of the E. The E used to be almost impossible to play. You had to be very keen. Now they made it much safer. Just you and an ally move faster. We did talk about some of the animations that you can cancel, right? So you can go with the EQ, the WE. Like there's a couple different combos that you can use. I do like that they have those in the game, but that's going to create a huge rift with like how players play this champion in pro versus how they play it in low ELO. And since she was the actual least played champion in the entire game, there's a lot of catching up to do, and people aren't going to know. They're not going to have ingrained these things. So if you're picking up Rel, she's still going to be strong. Go into practice tool and practice the 6 different combinations of your buttons, and then do it again with your ultimate, and just see which animations. Can you go EQ? Can you go QE? Can you go QW? Get a feel for how those are. That's the best advice we can give you right now. But let's look at the actual numbers. The base adaptive force stat is finally changing to ability power. This is a big deal because all of the runes that you get, you're not getting any early game AP items until you get maybe a demonic embrace for the clearing. We showed that if you just cast W on a wave, you're basically one-shotting raptors with just one rotation, not even a rotation, just 2 spells. Now that you're getting ability power and the fact that she has 300% ratios, this is a big deal. Okay, big deal. Cast time going down by 0.1 seconds. I wonder what the frame animation still is though. Magic damage is going down by 10. Okay, but they gave it back to you here. AP ratio staying the same. Jungle monster damage is now, instead of becoming 300%. All right, so they're completely changing everything here. 150 to 430 bonus damage to monsters. So this is lower all over the board. This is going to be a problem. Not a problem, but late game clear is not going to be so automatic anymore. Before, it was just literally show up to the camp, clear, boom, next one. Just rinse, repeat. Actual insane clear speeds are going to go down. Ferromancy Crash Down is losing 10 at all ranks. Jungle monster damage getting the same treatment, okay? 125 rather than 300%. All of the spells are getting this same treatment, all right? So you're still going to want to use the combos on these. Interestingly enough, they're not giving as much bonus damage to mount up. Let's check full tilt. The magic damage is going down by 10. Wow, they really felt the need to gut this champion. Whoa, 10 and 5 per level. And 3% of and 1% of the target's maximum health are all going down. Whew. Whew. She still deals a lot of damage. Highly recommend Abyssal Mask to be tanky and to shred resistances. And this is still going to be enough where you can play some aggressive builds. It's even a lot of fun to try building things like Shirelia's, or especially the Rocket Belt. If you haven't tried it, go into a Norms game, have some fun playing Rocket Belt Rel in the jungle. She deals so much damage. And again, the monster damage is being nerfed. Percent damage cap against monsters 150. Why are they adding this if they're doing this? Are these supposed to be percentages? This is bonus damage. It doesn't read as percentage. Again, we never expect them to be good at patch note writing. That's not their forte. But if this is percent, then this is okay. If these are flat bonus damage the way that it reads, then it's a nerf. But if it's going up, like, yeah, it'll affect her first clear and her first gank timers. That'll be important for all the pro teams. Looking at which window, she previously could get out at about 312. It looks like she's going to be getting out around 316 now. But those timers will all matter. If this is actual percent damage, then she's just going to start again, free invades at all times. So I'm assuming for now it's just flat bonus damage, but we'll have to go in and check and we'll let you know. Rumble. This is a mid-scope change, so let's go with the whole thing on this one. Base health decreased, health growth increased. We don't need the summary. Rumble has historically had a higher play rate in top than in mid, and we've let those players down over the years by not maintaining top Rumble as viable. He's also extremely elite skewed champion due to his primary strength around pushing and roaming to bot lane. These changes are meant to lower his early roam threat and give him melee 1v1 power and late game scaling in its place. So interesting. Like, his ult's definitely a team fight ult, but you can go split push into group with this champion now. Reshaping his heat structure is an attempt to make the danger zone more forgiving, his heat costs more intuitive, and less overheat punishment. Interesting. We're hoping that for a result where top lane becomes Rumble's best role, with jungle and mid lane being viable alternatives for fans of those playstyles. Though he's got new incentives to build health, we're not hoping to turn him into a juggernaut, just simply making him a bit more durable in the mid game. Base stats down by 24, health growth up by 6. All right, so by level 5, you're going to be higher health than before. Base health regen is going down. A little bit of a hit to his oppressive level 1, 2, 3. Junkyard Titan, maximum heat, 150 now. Danger zone 50 plus, so you can be in the yellow zone longer. All right, that's very good for his laning phase. Overheat monster damage cap, low at early levels but higher later when you're just trying to pick up some camps. Overheat attack speed is going up significantly. All right, this is a big deal. Overheat duration is going down, so if you do need to cast your spells. So this overall right now already making him much stronger in the mid game. Q Flame Spitter. Magic damage going down by 45. But increasing with maximum health. Okay, so this is going to be a direct buff. Early, right? Again, level 1, this is going to be a little bit lower. Still 110% ratio on the AP. But end game, we're talking about a pretty serious change right here. 10% of the target's max health. That's an extra like 300 damage against tanks. All right, so when you're going into those tanks, you should be able to rip them apart. Plus the fact that the E has the extra magic pen now. W, Scrap Shield. Values going from 60 to 80, down to 25 to 145, but giving you a ratio of maximum health, okay? So in your first lane phase, 700 health, that's an extra 28. So you're going to be landing at 53, slightly lower. But as you go into the maximum ranks, this number is going to be very high. This also probably means that you're going to put points into your W second right now, just as it's scoped. 25% AP, the ratio is going down, but maximum health. Basically, Demonic Embrace is what this screams. This just screams Demonic Embrace and Abyssal Mask as a combination. Electro Harpoon, mana generated going up by 20, so it's a little bit easier to get to that middle ground. And the Equalizer cooldown is going up at rank 1, so you're not going to get those double roams off to bot as often, and it's cooling down to 80 later. Okay, big changes. This is going to have notable impact for metagame, right? The fact that Rumble is going to exist now and be another tank shredder, something I can rip through, and also have team fights. For example, this will be a hard counter to Malphite, okay? Basically, you want to show up to a fight second. Malphite ults in, they converge, they dogpile, and you rip your ult through them, and you swing the tide of the fight. Now, on top of that, you're going to absolutely annihilate the 1v1. So this is going to be very good for Rumble into tanks. Rise changed again. Bonus mana increased. E magic damage increased. Missile speed increased. This is important for his combos in pro play. The maximum mana increase is going up by 10%. Okay, that's a fairly significant amount because this mana is coming back and giving you more AP as well. Magic damage on the Spell Flux is gaining 5% to the ratio, a little bit of help to the endgame carry. And the missile speed is going faster, which again is just at the very highest levels of play. I don't think it should change any iterations. You might be able to get QE off now as a combo. We'll have to test this out. QE, you might be able to get QE, so the travel time of the Q will fly, and while it's flying, the E that you cast will land and then go through. And so it should be a little bit of a help. And if that's the case, you can actually lead off your combos with QEQ. Okay, it's important to note that. Sivir, attack damage growth decreased. W bounce damage increased. All right, so they're taking away a little bit of the scaling from here, but they're giving back some scaling here. Okay, this is going to be a net equal, a little bit good for her late game. Sivir's still sitting a bit weaker than her marksman peers, so we're looking to revert some previous AD ratio buffs to her Ricochet now that she has the space for more power to be added to her kit. All right, so you're still going to want to be going Essence Reaver. She still wants to get Serrated Dirk first, and once you have those two core items, then you can start building into the rest of the damage as it's appropriate. The new Bloodthirster changes are really important for Sivir as well, just giving her that big damage increase. So you're still going to want to go overheal with Bloodthirster, and then just get that extra stack, that extra shield to go into the fight, extra damage to come, and then you can go with Mythic, something like Infinity Edge, or usually Gale Force after that. Gale Force also has a lot of bonuses early game, so there's going to be some situations in Pro where they really want the burst from Gale Force and the ability to escape, but in your average solo queue games, Essence Reaver is still going to be better. Yumi, E bonus attack speed decreased. Our heal per hit decreased. Yumi is overperforming across all skill brackets, go figure, including pro, and benefited from the 1310 support item changes. That's very true. We're proactively dropping her general power levels while she's overperforming across the board with the goal to help keep Yumi playable for the rest of her non-pro player base. Yes, please, just like aim that way. Just skew her down. All right, here's the curve. This is where Yumi needs to be. I think it's that simple. This champion has... I don't think Riot understands the inherent brokenness of champions. Like the kit itself, if it does something ridiculous, you either need to take it away, or if you want to keep them being unique, you just need to flatline them. Zeri needs to be lower. Yumi needs to be lower. They don't need to have competitive numbers because they do something else that's ridiculous. In this case, it's a support that is invulnerable, right? Like, that's just not going to change. On top of that, teams are getting better at actually figuring out how to use the besties combos, right? And so this champion's always going to be too strong, and pros are always going to be better with her. Not to mention that there's a lot of skill expression with jumping in and off and getting everything. She's always going to be too good. I would go back, revert the changes that made her more difficult to play to reward the pros. Make her simple, make her easy, make her good for bronze players that are learning the game. That's it. Hey, friend, come play League of Legends. What is it? Oh, well, check it out. You can play this character. You're a cat. You'll sit on my back. You'll cast spells. We'll have a lot of fun. That's what this character should be. Intro to League. I don't even want to read these. Best friend bonus, 10 to 20% heal and shield power is going from 5 to 15. This is a much needed change. Shield value 90 to 210 going from 80 to 180 and keeping the same AP ratio. The attack speed buff, this was very important, especially in this on-hit meta. 35% is going down and then coming up to 35%. Good. Heal per hit down by 10. Good. Crush. Like, I just want this champion out of pro scope at all. Like, make her such that they shouldn't even consider her. Frankly, that's my belief on Yumi. Another completely fundamentally broken champion, Zeri. Movement speed increased, passive remove. What? Passive removed? All right. Move speed going up by 5. The passive where she steals the shields and gains 10% move speed for 2 seconds whenever she receives a shield has been removed. Wow. Okay, good. Like I said, you have to get rid of fundamental broken things. Basically, everyone in the endgame, especially in an enchanter meta, is going to give shields. She's just gaining. It's like a ridiculous amount of lifesteal. It's like she gets an extra bloodthirster. Now it's gone. Q passive goes here. Burst Fire's passive has been moved to be Zeri's primary passive. Wow, this is an enormous nerf. People don't like to think of passives as being like overly powerful. This is a huge nerf. Q Burst Fire. The Q passive has been moved to Zeri's primary passive. Trinity, no more. Q Burst Fire no longer activates Sheen. Okay. Well, I mean, fundamentally broken champions are getting pegged. All right. So this is going to affect your Essence Reaver, which was the best build. But a lot of people were playing like Trinity Force and Runons with Titanic Hydra to just splash huge amounts of damage all over the place. No longer going to be viable. So it will be interesting to see where she lands. If there's going to be a champion, the first one after Kaisa that will be a Gnasher's Tooth potential abuser could be Zeri. Try it out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Spark Surge. On hit critical strike multiplier is going up by 20. This is a big deal for late game team fights. This is huge though. The fact that these are being moved over, not getting the most broken passive in the game, and not being able to trigger Sheen. This one's not as important because there's other build paths that are nearly as viable. But getting some power back here. They're trying to aim for crit. So this is definitely against that Gnasher's Tooth line, but could be interesting. Zeri's can have a awkward spot as people try to break her. This is largely a project for the elite level of games. Zeri's still a lot of fun, but man, if you've ever tried playing her like 2 games in a row, if I have, starts swelling in the wrists, man. Tough champion. Ardent Sensor. Sanctify on hit damage flatlining to 15. This is a big nerf. Bloodthirster, total cost going up by 200. This was mandatory. This item was just best in slot, and it was cheaper than the other ones. Gale Force, attack damage going down by 5. The Cloud Burst active damage is taking away plus 200% of your critical strike chance and adding 45% of your bonus AD. So normally when you're looking at this, you're looking at 40. I mean, in most cases, 40 to 160, right? Rarely going at any higher than that. One item, once you get to 2 items, this will be higher. But basically at every item where the items are giving you about 60, 50 to 60 AD, that's translating to 22 to 25 extra damage, which was less than what you were getting here from collecting them. So this is a pretty big nerf to the damage on Gale Force. I think they're trying to make Infinity Edge better. The problem is it's got a very bad passive. It's got a scaling effect that only matters later. What may end up transpiring is you're going to get these buildups, right? We talked about Serrated Dirk into whatever else. When you're building up, now you'll get more reward from Infinity Edge, and that's how it's going to become viable. Still do not touch Infinity Edge, even though it's better than these items now. We'll see, it's not right here. Even though it's better than these items, even though the items around it got nerfed as first and second options, you still don't want to touch Infinity Edge until third item. It's just not worth. Then once you get the critical multipliers, then you can consider it. Immortal Shield Bow, lifesteal going up by 3%. Players have, for the most part, identified that Shield Bow is not a good first item. Unfortunately, the item just isn't very strong when purchased later either. This is relatively light buff, but one that crit users should be able to feel in the mid-game. Yep, they will. Nice little change. Bloodthirster is still better. Imperial Mandate has found itself a new home as a legendary support item and has quickly become one of the default purchases as Enchanter's second item. Correct. Well, that's awesome. The item is overpowered and contributing to League being at one of its burstiest points in recent memory. Overall, these changes are intended as a small nerf, particularly targeting the item's burst output. So, +5, -15. You don't get it till level 8 now. Okay. So I assume you're just going to stay 35 for a flat amount of time, and you're just not going to get it later. I don't think it's actually 40 to 60 and you wait till level 8. I assume it's going to be 35 for levels 1 through 7, and then 40 to 60 going up. Again, please, Riot, get better at writing patch notes. Coordinated fire proc, 70 to 50 is becoming 80 to 120. Again, hitting the scaling. Coordinated fire movement speed is going up. So the move speed will be nice. And this is actually very good for late game team fights and will still affect pro play. These damage numbers are inconsequential compared to extra move speed. So this is actually going to be a huge problem in pro and expected to still be seeing a lot of play. Moonstone Renewer is weak on every champion that isn't named Soraka. We're changing the formula, that's correct, to always give the values that allies of level 14 plus were getting in most cases. This typically ends up augmenting the value of heals and shield by about 5% per cast and giving shields more leniency due to them feeling less disruptive. Up, right. So they're doing everything at level 14. They're just basically scooting up ahead to level 14 values on everything. Same target shield bonus going up. This is level 18. And, this is a big one, 5 heal and shield power. So big changes to Moonstone Renewer. Again, it was just basically outclassed by other items. So the cases to get Moonstone Renewer might still not be there. But we'll still see. We'll see if someone comes up as a new user. Off the top of my head, it's still going to be Soraka. Soraka's going to get the biggest buff out of this because it was already good on her. Now it's just better. So if you're looking for a lane bully in the bot wave and then a Juggernaut carry, then Soraka is going to be for you and Moonstone Renewer. So that's probably the biggest case that you can start getting into these hyper carry bruiser types like Aurelia that can now have a pocket healer as a way to help them stay alive. Phantom Dancer is underperforming compared to other mid-range crit items, so let's just give it 5% attack speed. This is very nice. I don't think that this item was worse. Underperforming, largely just because the energized numbers are too high. But if they bring those down, then this is going to jump to the forefront. Energized damage. Here we go. Big hit. All right. Rapid fire cannon losing 80 of its scaling damage. Static Shiv losing 10 of its damage. Static Shiv is meant to be your best source of wave clear without just one-shotting the caster minions. It's still a bit underpowered, so the damage is being ramped up in the early game in order to more closely align with health bars. Okay, they still don't want it one-shotting though. It is interesting though, as you start stacking up the energized effects and they go off together, you can start one-shotting the waves. Also important to note that these items have incredible AP scaling. If you're still building Lichbane, there's a strong chance that you're doing it wrong. There's a lot of characters that actually want to use these items because they have the same 50% scaling that the Lichbane does on AP, plus they have all the extra damage sources. So depending on what your champion is and what they do, make sure that you consider these. Runes Overheal was meant as an avenue for disenfranchised AD carry players to opt into more durability for the games where they needed it. In reality, most players don't typically mess with their rune pages, but pros sure do. Moving Overheal back to maximum health ratio will open its users up to self-sustaining fighters and tanks while nerfing it for marksmen. Good. This is a good change. Technically, Aphelios gets more shielding levels 1 through 5. This will help his lane phase a lot, but this is overall a significant nerf otherwise. Meanwhile, it's substantially stronger for high health champions like fighters, okay? Overheal, overall, this is still the strongest or second strongest Overheal has ever been. Shield value 20 to 300 being changed to 11% of your maximum health. So, your bruisery types that have some self-healing or that buy items like Riftmaker or Gore Drinker are going to be able to get this extra health. I'm trying to think which cases. It's someone that wants to be alive. Triumph. I mean, it's basically just going to be better than Triumph in most cases in Pro because getting the flat extra health at the beginning of your cycle is much better than trying to get a Triumph proc off. In Pro, a lot of these fights aren't being dictated by Triumph heals. It's really just who dies first. That's enough. That's it. You need to get that first base chunk of health up for yourself. So what other uses? I mean, I'm definitely going to be using it on Volleybear. Going to try it out with Riftmaker. It also has synergy with Shield Bash. So if you're one of those champions that can abuse these synergies, absolutely go for it and try it out. Systems, mid lane gold. Ooh. A fair bit ago, we nerfed mid lane gold to reduce mid lane agency at early points in the game. While this was successful, the risk of nerfing mid lane mages over roamers has indeed become a reality. Yep, and placed mages in a not so great position. This is certainly not the only issue with mages, but one that we think we can mitigate now. Absolutely. Here comes the money. Mid lane minions are worth 1 less gold before 14. They're worth the same amount. Minion equality has been achieved. Okay, this is just a huge buff to the lane. This is good. I will say, anecdotally, for the first time, or an allegory, for the first time ever, queued Phil, I got queued in mid lane. It happened. Just a note to why this is happening, right? Mid lane numbers are going down. It's risky to play mages. Why would you ever play mages, etc., etc., etc.? There is going to be a spot for mages, though. If the on-hit meta continues, these carries are getting into range for spells, and you've seen that they've already buffed champions like Orianna. So this is going to be meaningful, especially for aforementioned Orianna Victor types that are going to get much, much stronger from this. This is just over the course of every game, their averages will just go up a little bit. It's a little squeeze, right? Just let's nudge them up a bit. You're not going to ever like feel this in your game, but from game to game, you'll just be a little bit stronger as you stay to CS. But basically, staying in CSing was trolling. And it's still kind of trolling. You should still be tempo above everything. That's the truth everywhere. Tempo above everything. But this will be a nice little nod to mid lane, especially the champions that are more likely to have to plug and stay here. Red buff is way more prevalent now that buff sharing exists. Due to this, we'll need to bring its power level down a tad by reducing its late game damage output. Good, we talked about this. And retaining its slow and regeneration properties. This was most notable in carry junglers that now were able to just keep taking red and sharing it with the marksman, whereas previously you were giving it to the marksman. Champions like Rengar, that absolutely loved having the extra slow and the regeneration, everything about it. This will be a hit towards them, so it's a very needed change. 6+4 per level. So we're going to get this base damage, right? So you're reducing it pretty significantly here. Slow amount halved for ranged champions. This is a big deal, and the base number is going down. That's a huge nerf. And health regeneration going down by a significant amount here as well. So big changes. Red buff was carrying games. This was an important step. If you weren't getting red buff, it's still good enough to take a moment. Take a moment with your team. Go get 2 red buffs before you go out for your fight. It really is game changing to have these values. So keep that in mind. ARAM adjustments, don't really care. Themed Clash, should be a lot of fun if you guys want to do Clash training. Better time than ever. We're doing some summer deals, and especially I appreciate you guys hanging out this long in this video with me, so I want to show my appreciation back to you. Everyone can get their first lesson for free. That's right, absolutely completely free. Just go to gigagamingacademy.com, sign up, get your friends. You can do a lesson, group lesson, individual. There's free consultations and everything, so check it out. Lower deals, lower summer rates. And especially if you're the parent of a kiddo, get them signed up for the academy and we'll get your kid a scholarship. All of these things, check them out on the website, gigagamingacademy.com. Mythic Shop is changing. We're going to have a huge boon. Like, look at all these prestige skins coming in, Hextech skins, and we're going to have the new Chroma Crystallis Modus skins and a couple of shops coming out. You'll have one day, so if you're seeing this on Wednesday and maybe up to Thursday, you should be able to still get these skins. But if you haven't, last chance to do it before they rotate out. Bug fixes. Let's do a quick scan. Bug fix Neeko passive that would allow her to attack champions if she was disguised as a zombie ward. This is a big deal, right? There is a lot of these iterations with Neeko where she's able to do more potentially than she was intended. Fixed a bug where Rel's critical strike VFX would not line up. That's okay. Don't really care about VFX changes. WNE would sometimes not function correctly when she was affected by CC. We did notice this on stream. Fixed a bug where Rel's Q ability would switch directions after using flash. Ooh, I mean, a bug. I guarantee you pro teams know about this, and this is a way to kind of like change facing of direction, and you can change it, so this is a major change for pro. Fixed a bug where multiple visual issues would occur during Rel's spawn animation if she spawned as dismounted. She should never spawn dismounted. She should always be remounted. Fixed a bug where Rel could skip her W animation if E was cast during her W activation. Oh, gosh, we just talked about all these things. Bugs, what's a bug and what's intended? Okay, so absolutely go in and reaffirm everything that you think you know about this champion with her combinations. We were seeing it that we could just go WE, boom. It was just like almost like a flash engage in and of itself. It looks like they're getting rid of that. Fixed a bug where Rel would have animation issues during the cast of her E. Oh my god, we're going to have to relearn everything on this. Fixed a bug where Yone's W indicator would not follow the mouse cursor if the ability was manually selected by clicking on it. No one does that. Well, sorry. The lowest 2% of players probably do that. If you haven't started using buttons to cast your spells, you should definitely be doing that. Fixed a bug where Aegis of the Legion would show up in the build path and item sets for Locket. That was changed a while ago. Fixed a bug where small monsters would sometimes not reset aggro while being dragged outside their camp area. There's a lot of issues with this. Fixed a bug where Janna's passive movement speed is preserved after recalling while facing an ally. Interesting. Don't know if there was any cases where people were trying to abuse that. Fixed a bug where Ivern's passive ability would leave shareable buffs after slaying Red Brambleback. That could only be picked up by Ivern. Interesting. I mean, they said that they got rid of it, so it should be gotten rid of. Ivern, by the way, untouched in this patch, still incredibly strong. Make sure you abuse that champion. In four different lanes, maybe even 5. Interesting spots. Caitlyn can act like the support in early game. Check this out. You buy the support item on Caitlyn, you play Ivern Kate, you abuse the bushes. Ivern can go in dealing the extra damage. You can do this either way. The gold sharing, he's going to have a super empowered auto attack. You can even play him as support. You can do either combination. You go in, you can basically trade off the minions and then go off and into the late game. Caitlyn can go ahead and use that extra gold generation plus the free stats from the item and then go build carry while Ivern scales into support. Neat little trick. If you haven't tried it, try it out. Grab a friend and play that Caitlyn Ivern bot lane. Of course, you're using Caitlyn because she uses the bush the best, right? She gets the extra headshot procs. Fixed a bug where, let's see, where are we? Players could see Herald was being started without seeing the Herald due to the patience ring showing. Interesting. They do actually still show the fireworks animations in the pit, so I wonder if they got rid of that as well. Fixed a bug where Ivern's E second shield may not be activated even though no enemy was hit. All right, that's good because we saw that again on stream. Fixed a bug where Kled could extend the range of his R and reroute his primal smite. I hadn't seen that. Interesting if it was showing up in games. Mordekaiser would have all player locations revealed to him during his ultimate. That's funny. The Death Realm was just giving you full map hacks. Fixed a bug where Ivern's W Brush would allow Viego to reapply his Q passive. Interesting. I wonder, it should still apply for like Akshan. We'll see about others. We've added a slider to repeatedly purchasable items, key fragments, and blue essence finally to the shop. So you don't need to go, I buy one, I buy one, I buy one. No, let me just buy them all. I just want to have a little note to Riot, if you're here, if you're watching. I would love a game that didn't have these bugs. I would love a game that's balanced for pro. The more times you change the game, and I understand the philosophy is we want to keep the game interesting for newer players or existing intermediate players, we'll say, to keep them coming back. Changing the game is bad for new players. It's bad for returning players. Okay? It's bad for pro play. It's bad for patching out bugs because you keep on creating new ones. So you have to weigh the one good thing of keeping it fresh for the player base that's already playing a lot versus these 4 negatives. Can you slow down on the patches, please? I think it will benefit much of your player base. It's better for new players because your friends can explain to them how the ability works and with confidence, not have the iteration be like, wait, I thought you said this would happen. Oh man, this is really frustrating. Let's go play something else. That has happened to me. Okay? That happens in games all the time. It's exhausting to keep track of this. You could write a dissertation on League of Legends, except for you can't, but because by the time you went to publish it, half the shit in it would not be worth anything anymore. It's already been changed. Slow down the patches, please. All right? We don't need to be reading all this all the time. We don't want to look over all these patches all the time. We'd like to have a balanced game with rock, paper, scissors where some things beat other things and different iterations can be strong. You don't need to change it, and especially don't change it based on skin sales and media that's coming out. It's not a good look. I don't think anyone likes the fact that champions were overpowered for a long time because Arcane came out. That's not fun. Arcane was good in and of its own merits. I hope you learned that. I hope you know that. I really hope that has sunk in. Arcane 2, I'm hoping it's going to be great in and of its own merits. I don't need to have this story where Akali and Shen are stronger in game so that Akali and Shen can be more enticing characters that people want to care about. That's it. That's my ask to Riot. If you're watching this, please thumbs up if you agree and clip this part. And just show Riot. Come on, guys. We can do better. Couple skin bug fixes. Fixed a bug where DRX Kindred's passive did not have different VFX between 0 and 1 passive stacks. Don't care. These don't matter. Okay, upcoming skins and chromas. Bard skins are always fun. Kog'Maw, what the heck is going in? These Shanghai scrolls, to me, they're very difficult. They all kind of look the same. Tom Kent should be a fun one. I actually like this one, probably the best out of all of them. And let's see. Crystallis Motus Liana. Yep. Tarek's BFF. That's what we see right here. Tarek Leona bot lane. Anybody? Let me know. Hit me up if you want to hit. I'll play with you. Until then, until then, keep it surreal, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep it surreal. Peace.